Hello, everybody. It's Jeremy Whaley here from Trade Maestro over at trademaestro.com. You can check out what we're doing. I'm here to talk to you briefly about Nasara and specifically how I think Nasara could play out a little bit. So, if you don't know me, let me introduce myself. As I just said, my name is Jeremy Whaley, and I've been trading the markets for over 20 years, been teaching people how to trade for about the last 15 years. And so I live and breathe the financial markets, and specifically the stock market, the options, crypto markets. That's where I spend all my time. So naturally, Nasara fits into that a little bit. And I've been learning different things about it over the last many years and kind of keeping track on where everything's going. So that kind of gives you a little bit of background there. This morning, I was on the phone with my good friend and yours, Dr. Scott Young. And I shared some ideas that I was thinking about with him. And he said, you know what, that's really great. Would you type it up so I can share it with my group on Telegram? And I said, no, that's too much work. But I told him I would do a video because I think videos are easier to do than to type it all up. So that's why I'm doing this video for you, okay? So let's jump into it. Basically, I'm calling this why I think this might be the week for Nasara. Now, before I get going too far, I want to say very clearly, I'm not an intel provider and I don't have any kind of insider information. I'm just pontificating. I'm putting the pieces together, and you know, if it sets well with you, then great. If it doesn't, then no big deal. You can go argue this on your own after watching this video. So let me tell you how I think this is going to go. The first thing that I see happening, there's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet. A lot of people are saying this has to happen, that has to happen. Look, probably doesn't. Here's how I see this going. Number one, I think it's going to happen in secret. If you think back to when we went off the gold standard, we went off the gold standard in secret. They didn't come out with great pomp and circumstances and announcing it everywhere, making a big deal about it, but rather they took us off the gold standard kind of under the cover of darkness. There was a little bit of a blip on the news, and that was it. And then they covered it up and talked about everything else. In the same way, I think that's what's going to happen coming out of that, going back onto a gold standard. I don't think you're going to come out to great announcements, contrary to a lot of belief. I think it's going to happen pretty much unannounced or very lightly announced. And then there will be an immediate distraction, which we'll talk about in a moment here. There will be an immediate distraction, and that distraction will take all the attention while this entire new financial system has been created under the cover of darkness. Now, if you go back to the 1970s, this is how they did it. The first thing they did is they took off the convertibility of international currencies to the dollar. So they kind of depegged that. And then about 3 or 4 months later, they depegged the dollar from the gold standard. So just imagine that we're doing it in reverse, and we're already seeing it happening. I'll have to do some other videos to talk about that, but we've already seen the British pound and the euro kind of coming into parity with the dollar. And we're going to see that happening with a lot of other currencies. And then as all those different currencies kind of come into parity, we're setting the stage here for Nasara to fully be enacted, which I think will happen in multi-stages over time, over a probably relatively short period of time, but it's still not going to happen, you know, just like that, I don't think. I could be wrong, but we'll find out. Like I said, I don't have any inside information. I'm just pontificating. All right, so the first thing that I think is going to happen in secret. Next thing is it's going to happen in a way that makes Trump look like the hero and makes Sleepy Joe look like the villain, okay? And again, they've set the stage for that. And I'm going to talk about that momentarily too. And then the final piece here about how I think it's going to happen is it's going to happen without giving the public a chance to argue with it. Now, understand what I mean by that. If you just look back at the last couple of months, Joe, they were going out there and they're doing all sorts of student loan forgiveness, and they're doing all this stuff to, you know, try to, I don't know what they're trying to do, but it's irritated a bunch of people. A lot of people are out there saying, hey, you shouldn't forgive Sally's student loan. You shouldn't forgive Joe's student loan over here. I paid mine. They should pay theirs, right? So if they really come out and announce all over the news that they're doing mortgage forgiveness, and they're doing all these different loan forgivenesses, and you really think it's going to set very well for the people who had their houses paid off? And the answer is no, it's not. Okay? They're going to be sitting here saying, well, I paid my house off. Why does Joe not have to pay his house off? Then you come behind it and you start doing this gold announcement. Do you think people are just going to jump up and down? Well, you would jump up and down. But trust me, there's a whole bunch of other people that are more of a different school of economics, and they're not going to be jumping up and down. In fact, they're going to hit the streets. They're going to say they're ruining our dollar. They're ruining our economy. This thing should be fiat. And that sounds crazy to you. But the vast majority of Americans that have been trained in universities actually believe that, because they were indoctrinated with some really bad economics. So, no, I don't think it's coming out to great fanfare. I think it's going to happen under the table, under the radar. And as it lays out, people will start to realize the benefits, and then they will have already bought into it when it's way too late to undo it. Okay? So, how do I think it might go? Well, let's talk about how it might go. And this is why I think it could happen this week. It's a perfect storm for all this to happen. So the first thing is I think it could be enacted this week with no fanfare or very, very little fanfare. Very quickly thereafter, within maybe the day of, maybe within a week, we would see an EBS, an emergency broadcast. But this is not going to be announcing NESARA, in my opinion. I think this is going to be announcing the election fraud. I think what they're going to do is I think you're going to put the attention on the fact that the election was stolen, the fact that all this bad stuff has happened, and that's going to be the attention. Now, you need to understand why this is a perfect storm for this scenario before I get into the next piece that I'm going to talk about here. As I said just a moment ago, Trump needs to be the hero, Biden needs to be the villain. Well, if you think back at the market and you think about where we've gone in 2020, Trump comes into office, market goes straight up. Keeps going up until, I said that wrong. In 2016, Trump comes into office, market goes straight up until 2020. We get into the COVID crisis, market tanks. He brings it back, okay? Brings it back to a bunch of inflationary measures, but they bring it back. Market keeps soaring, and as far as people are concerned, the economy is doing great. Housing values are going up as far as they look at it. Everything is doing really great. And then the election happens, Sleepy Joe gets into office, and everybody's like, wait a second. Why are gas prices going up? Why is food going up? Why are all these prices going up? And then suddenly the Fed comes along, starts raising interest rates. It's crushing the economy. Now we've gone from an extraordinary economy to a just destructive, horrendous economy. And it happened all right after the election. Now, it doesn't matter how it was queued up. Doesn't matter about what got us here. That's irrelevant at this point. Matters is what's happening in the public opinion of the average everyday American who doesn't pay attention to online stories, who's not a crazy conspiracy uncle, just the average everyday Americans looking at this and they're like, all I know is Trump got into office, market did great, economy did great, we had lots of money. Then COVID happened, and then he said they were going to fix it, and they brought it back, and it was great. And then Biden got into office, and it was horrible. And now they're telling me that Biden stole the election. So you see how people are making these connections in their mind? It doesn't matter if it's actually what the cause was. This is who's getting credit for it. And then there's another magic moment that's about to happen, and this is also going to happen this week. And that is the collapse of the stock market. At least that's the perception of the collapse of the stock market. Now, here's what's interesting. This particular stock market crash is almost identical to the format that we had in 2008 with the 2008 financial crisis, okay? So close that it's within a week of the calendar date of when things happen. Now, that's not uncommon because if you look at stock market history, September and October are the most bearish months of the year consistently, okay? So September and October, all the big market crashes, 9/11, 2008, and now 2022, they always happen in September and October. And specifically, it's right here in this little window that we are in right now. So where I think this thing is going to stretch out to is all the way into probably February, March, April, maybe May of 2023, excuse me. I think that's how far this is going to go, but you're going to get the crux of it right now. Remember, just understand how news cycles work. We've been crashing for a year. Market's been in a bear market since January of this year, so 9 months, not a whole year, but for 9 months. Market's been bearish for the last 9 months. The media just today, when I'm recording this video, just today is finally saying, hey, we might be in a recession. Oh no, we just entered recession territory. We're down 20%. You finally figured it out? Look, we've been talking about this for 9 months. Where have they been? Okay, they're the media. The same thing happened in 2008. In 2008, they didn't talk about the recession that was happening until September, when the market starts just totally collapsing. That's what you're about to see right now. I think the market's going to go down remarkably far in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think it'll be primarily done by October 15th. We will stabilize for a few months, and then we'll have one more major push down into the end of the year, beginning of next year. That's the way I think it's going to go. But that's irrelevant. The important thing is to realize who's getting credit for it. And the important thing is to recognize the timeline. So let me come back to my slides here. This week, NESARA happens without people recognizing. This is a theory. I'm not saying this is happening. It's a theory. NESARA happens without people recognizing. No big fanfare. EBS happens. Tells people about election fraud. The media starts going crazy about the election fraud, but what's happening underneath it? Same time, markets are crashing. Media cannot ignore that story. So the two main stories are election fraud, economy's in trouble. No, excuse me. Election fraud, really, really bad, and economies completely like being destroyed right before our eyes. It's falling apart. Everybody's 401ks are going to the toilet, and like housing and interest rates, like it is the worst case scenario for anybody. It's the absolute worst case scenario that a president of any nature could imagine. They're going to talk about that, in my opinion, for about 2 weeks. And mid-October, I think they will start to enter into the narrative the possibility of delaying the election. It'll take probably about a week or two, and then they will finally come out and say, we're going to postpone the November midterm, do a special election at the beginning of the year, and then guess what's going to happen? They'll do that. Trump and the Patriots will come back in, and they will set up shop probably first quarter of 2023, maybe March, April, maybe at the latest. They'll get themselves set up and shop, and that's about the time that the market's going to hit the bottom, because that's when the market was going to hit the bottom anyway, because that's where the cycle goes. So you see, I look at this, I don't look at this through the eyes of internet people saying this is what has to happen. I look at this through the eyes of what was going to happen no matter what. This was a market cycle that was going to happen. It was going to happen. This is the timeline approximately of when it was going to happen. They've just coincided all this together so that they get all the attention on Biden. They make him the villain. And now Trump comes back in right at the market bottom. Market goes right back up, because they timed it just perfectly. Now what happens? Now Trump's got 3 big wins. 2016, he comes in, market keeps going up. 2020, fixes COVID, and market goes up. Okay, Biden gets in, market collapses. Trump comes back, market goes back up. See what I'm saying? Trump's going to be the hero, all related to economics. Biden's going to be the villain. And then that gives all this fuel to investigate, why did they steal the election? Why did all this happen? And what's happening underneath the surface that people don't realize is happening is the entire financial system has been fixed and nobody even knew it. Same way that it happened in 1971 when they broke it and people didn't realize it. They're going to do the exact same thing now. They're just going to fix it. And so what's going to happen is inflation is going to stop, not because of Trump, but because of the gold standard. So inflation will get under control because of the gold standard. Okay, you see the market start to rally again. That will be part of the Trump thing. That'll be part of the thing that they bring into it. But that's a natural cycle. That's going to happen anyway. In fact, I can talk about other economic cycles, why this is probably the market's going to bottom first part of 2023. That's probably the lowest it will be for the next, probably ever. But this should start us into an 80-year bull market, where the market just goes up basically for the next 80 years. That's not a direct move. It'll have ups and downs, but this is a big deal. It's another video for us to do. But anyway, that's how I see this thing laying out, and it is going to be epic. It is going to be historical. I do not see them overloading the American people with an EBS and all this information about everything that you want revealed. It's not going to happen all at once. It's going to be singularly focused. I believe it's going to be focused on election fraud. I believe underneath it all is going to be the NESARA situation. I don't even want to call it an announcement, because it'll be happening without people knowing. And then several months down the road, they may say, oh yeah, by the way, back then when that happened, we went back on a gold standard, and that happened. And then just kind of move on. And it might be 15, 20 years before people really figure out some of the things that actually happened with NESARA. I could be wrong. Maybe they make fanfare. I just don't think they're going to. I think they're going to keep it pretty even-tempered. They want people to feel like their life is getting better. They don't want to shock them. They just want a nice, even, and by they, I mean the people that are kind of controlling this. They want it to be a nice, even improvement, not a sudden, lottery. You win the lottery and here's all this money. That's probably not how it's going to go. And so, anyway, then eventually, all the other stuff will get revealed as well, but it'll be very slow. not all at once. So there's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Let Scott know what you think. Hope you guys have enjoyed this. I did this because Scott asked me to do it. So again, I hope it was helpful for you. If you want to learn more about what I do, you can check me out over at trademaestro.com. You can also check out my YouTube channel at Trade Maestro. That's the name of the YouTube channel. So you can check that out if you want to learn some more about the stock market and all that kind of stuff. I don't talk about NESARA. Just want you guys to know that if you're going to my channels looking for NESARA information, you will not get it because I don't talk about it. But Scott asked for this one, so I did this just for you guys. It's an exclusive just for Scott and company. All right, I hope this has been helpful for you. And if you got any questions, then type it into Scott's chat and he'll pass it on to me and we can banter from there. All right, you guys have a wonderful evening, morning, day, whatever it is for you. And I look forward to talking to you soon. And until then, just stay encouraged and keep believing. I promise it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.